All right, this week we're going to talk about run-on sentences. And I would say this is the other most common grammar mistake that I see in papers is run-ons. They're just a little harder to catch, but once you get used to finding them, they're real easy. So I'm going to briefly go over what a run-on sentence is. Then we're going to practice identify correctly put together sentences, and then we'll practice identifying incorrect sentences or run-ons. And finally, we'll look at the most common mistakes that I see with run-ons. So if you need to skip to any portion of that, feel free to use the timestamps in the description. All right, so a run-on is when you have two independent sentences or clauses shoved together without the appropriate punctuation in between those sentences. So to show you what I mean, let's come over here. So if we remember, we build a sentence by having a noun or pronoun, which is our subject, plus a verb. So to basically what a run-on is when you have that noun and verb that make up a full sentence, and then another noun and verb with nothing in between. So this would look like, the dog ate his food, the dog did not enjoy it. Okay, so here we've got the dog, our noun, he's eating, that's the verb, and then we've got the dog again, and he's not enjoying it, that's our other verb for the dog, and there's nothing in between, and that's bad. It just runs together, it's hard to understand, sometimes it can sound really funny. So the way to properly attach two sentences is by either having a comma and coordinating conjunction. And if you remember from our parts of speech review, which you can go look at online or in a textbook, coordinating conjunctions are any words that join things together. And you can remember that by the acronym FANBOYS, okay? Because FANBOY stands for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. All of those words work to bring things together. So here we need a comma and coordinating conjunction to join these two sentences together. So that would look like that. Okay, we just added in that part there. The dog ate his food and the dog did not enjoy it. That sounds a little awkward, huh? We could use a pronoun there, he, and that also works as a full sentence. He did not enjoy it. That might sound more natural. So there's one way to attach those two sentences. The other way is just to add a period. So instead of adding those two, we just do a period and a capitalized he. Okay, that's also appropriate. The other appropriate way to attach them is a semicolon. So that would look like semicolon he. And notice you do not need to capitalize the next word when you use a semicolon. The final way is not often included as an official way of attaching two sentences, but it's a structure you will often see, so I'm introducing it to you now so we can identify it in our later sentence practice. And that is to have a subordinating conjunction with its subordinate phrase, a comma after that phrase, and then a full sentence afterwards. So here's an example of that. Because is our subordinate conjunction, then you would have what looks like a sentence, a comma, and then another sentence. And that is correct. So an example of that would be, although the dog ate his food, comma, he did not enjoy it. If you want more review about subordinating conjunctions, you can look at my previous video. But basically, if we come over to our list of subordinating conjunctions here, these are all words that indicate that the following sentence is waiting for more information. It's making that whole phrase, what we call a clause, subordinate to the real sentence. It can't stand on its own. It's not a real sentence. So now, although the dog ate his food, see, we're waiting for more information. Well, then what? Although he didn't although he ate his food, what? Well, he did not enjoy it. So that is the only case where a comma is appropriate between what looks like two full sentences. And that's because this is not a full sentence. Okay? So there's how we stick sentences together. Now let's practice identifying these positive, correct patterns in sentences. We're going to do that by looking at a brief paragraph that I just wrote up, and we're going to use those that parts of speech URL that I showed to you in the last video. I'll put that link again in the description. So basically what you do is you can copy and paste your sentence straight into this box. And this can be a way for you to proofread sentence by sentence if you are really concerned about your grammar, if you're missing a lot of things and getting mistakes. So you copy in the sentence and click post tag, and it will tell you where your parts of speech are. So here, yellow stands for pronoun. Okay, we've got our pronoun here, and it tells me that if I highlight it. And remember that a sentence is made from a noun and pronoun, a noun or pronoun, plus a verb. So I've got my pronoun and my verb there, so I know I've got a complete sentence there. I live in a small town. The rest of this is kind of superfluous. It's extra, and I'll talk about that more in other videos. But for now, it's enough to see, yes, I've got a full sentence there. This is a positive pattern. Let's try the next sentence. Just going to copy it in. Oops. And post tag it. Each year it is buried in heavy snow. Okay, I see a pronoun and verbs here. It is buried. This is what we call a verb phrase, where you've got more than one verb stuck together. And then I see another pronoun and another verb. So it looks like I have two clauses here, two sentences. Each year it is buried in heavy snow, but I still enjoy it. So the question is, have I joined these two sentences correctly? Do I see either a comma and conjunction, a period, a semicolon, or a subordinating conjunction and a comma? All right, if we look here between the two of them, I actually see a comma and a coordinating conjunction. So this is joined correctly. This is, again, a positive pattern that we can look for. And then we'll try this sentence. This one should be simpler again. So here again, we see the pronoun and then the verb, because this is a contraction. It is, I'm contracting into it. It is the pronoun, is the verb. So this is, again, a full sentence. We're fine. We're not trying to join anything. All right, now let's try the next one. All right, even when I slip on ice, comma, I can't get mad. All right, I see a pronoun and a verb, I slip, another pronoun, I, and a verb, can't get mad. All right, that's another verb phrase there, can't get. So I've got two phrases here, and they're stuck together. It looks like they've only got a comma in between them. So if we look back at our solutions, a comma has to have an and with it, right? To connect two full sentences. The comma and are like a married couple. They've always got to be together to hold those two sentences. So I don't see a coordinating conjunction there at all. So maybe this is incorrect. There isn't a period, there isn't a semicolon. Oh, but that last pattern we talked about can be a subordinating conjunction plus a comma after that phrase. So let's just check for subordinating conjunction. Even when I slip on ice. Does that sound incomplete to you? That's our first phrase, so just read it out loud, see if it sounds incomplete. Even when I slip on ice. Yeah, that's waiting for something more, huh? So that is a subordinate clause, a dependent clause. It's not complete on its own. It's not a full sentence. Now, in this parts of speech tagger, it tends to think that subordinating conjunctions are actually adverbs. If you hover over this, it says adverb. But if you check in our list over here, we've got even though and when. And this is not a full list. So that's a pretty good indication that even when is a subordinating conjunction. And that means we've got a subordinating conjunction with the rest of its phrase, a comma, and then a full sentence. So this is actually correct, okay? So there's some examples of identifying positive patterns in your sentences. These are all good patterns. Now let's practice identifying incorrect patterns. And we're going to do that just by coming over to this website where they have some examples for us, some sentences to quiz ourselves on. So I'm simply going to copy and paste each of these sentences into our parts of speech identifier and see what we think. Okay, and we're trying to identify if it's a comma splice. That's just a word meaning that you've taken two sentences and stuck them together with only a comma instead of the comma conjunction like we need. Okay, so we want to see if it's a comma splice or if it's a complete sentence. So copy this, edit text, paste it in, post tag. All right, I immediately see a noun and a verb. So there's one clause, one potential sentence, and then another noun and verb. Okay, we've got two here. It looks like that looks like two phrases. John is always late for work. Does that sound complete? I think so. Nobody seems to care. That also feels complete. Do we see any red adverb tags? Yes, here, but it's not at the beginning of the sentence, so it's unlikely that it's a subordinating conjunction. And we also felt like this phrase felt complete. So I would say this is incorrect, that we need more than a comma here. We need our married couple, our comma and, or comma but, or comma or, right? Any of these coordinating conjunctions with the comma. So let's mark that as a comma splice because it certainly is. Okay, let's try the next one. And highlight the whole text. Post tag. Okay, I see nouns and a verb. So there's one clause, probably a sentence. Here's another noun and verb, so probably another sentence. Here's another noun, but there's no verb after it, so it's not another clause. We don't need to worry about it. So let's read each one and see if they sound complete by themselves. Hot summer weather is nice. Yeah, I think that sounds complete. High temperatures are dangerous for certain people. Yes, that also sounds complete. So that means we've got two full sentences here. I don't see any subordinating conjunctions. I don't even see an adverb tag in there. So that means we need more than a comma here. This is a comma splice. We would need to fix it by putting comma and or comma but. We would need that coordinating conjunction. So that is also a comma splice. Okay, let's just do two more, and then we'll move on. So here we've got a noun and a verb, and more nouns but no more verbs, and then a pronoun and a verb, and more nouns but no verbs. Okay, so that looks like two different clauses. Let's read them and make sure they sound complete to make sure we're not missing a subordinating conjunction. Emily broke her ankle on the weekend. Yeah, that sounds complete to me. Now she is in a great deal of pain. I think that also sounds complete. We do have a red adverb tag here. Do we think it could be a subordinating conjunction? Does it feel like we're waiting for more information? Now she's in a great deal of pain. I don't think so, but it's hard to tell. Let's check our list. I do not see now anywhere on the list. So actually this is functioning as an adverb. An adverb can tell us when something is happening, and that's all it's doing. It's telling us that she is in pain now. So we have two complete sentences. They're joined by a semicolon. Does that work? We come back to our list. Yes, a semicolon can join two sentences. So this is correct. We can mark that as a complete sentence. All right, one more and then we will be done with our practice. Let's try number 5. So here we've got When a student, noun and verb, likes his class, pronoun verb, he is more likely to achieve good grades. We've got another verb here and a noun after it, but the grades aren't achieving. This isn't another clause. We've just got a student liking something and the student being more likely. Okay, so we've got two clauses and they're joined by a comma, so that will only work if we've got a subordinating clause. So let's read each one and make sure that they sound complete on their own. When a student likes his class, ... that one doesn't sound complete to me. He is more likely to achieve good grades. He is more likely to achieve good grades. Yeah, that could stand on its own, just stating he is more likely to achieve good grades. But this one doesn't sound complete to me at all, and it's tagged as a red adverb, but maybe it's a subordinating conjunction. Let's check. Yep, there's when on our list. We were right. That is an incomplete sentence. This here is a dependent clause. It's got a subordinating conjunction at the beginning and a comma at the end. So that's actually our fourth pattern, right? So we've got a full sentence afterwards, so it's good. We know we don't have a fragment, and that comma works. That's correct. So we can go ahead and mark that as a complete sentence. So there you go. There's some practice to help you identifying where these run-ons are. Now, just to wrap up, let's go over quickly some of the most common mistakes that happen with run-ons. One of the most common mistakes is to have a noun and a verb, then a comma, then a coordinating conjunction and a verb. To demonstrate that, let's write up a new sentence. Let's say, let's see here, Johnny eats lots of food and enjoys it. My last sentence was about food too, huh? Maybe I'm hungry. So here we've got, we can even copy this into our tagger if we want. If that's comfortable for you, use it as much as you need to. Just remember to use your own brain too, because as we see, it's not perfect. It thinks subordinating conjunctions are adverbs. And sometimes it's mistaken my verbs for prepositions and other things. So use your own brain. But here we've got our noun and our verb, some more nouns, and then a verb, but no noun or pronoun before that verb. So I actually accidentally wrote this correctly. The mistake is when you have a comma there, even though there's no noun or pronoun before the verb. That's a mistake. That's not correct. And sometimes when you've got really long phrases there, it's easy to stick a comma there, but that's not grammatically correct. This is one that I actually still work with. I've installed a program on my computer to help tag those moments so I can fix them and be more aware of it. So the way you fix it is just by taking out the comma or by adding in a noun. So we could fix this by deleting the comma, Johnny eats a lot of food and enjoys it, or by keeping the comma and just adding in our pronoun, Johnny eats a lot of food and he enjoys it. Okay? But just don't stick that comma in unless there's two full sentences. All right? That's what I was saying about the married couple, right? You only have your comma and coordinating conjunction together if they're pulling together two full sentences. All right, let's look at one more common mistake, and that is to have a noun and a verb and a semicolon plus a coordinating conjunction, noun and verb. So that would be Johnny eats a lot of food, semicolon, and he enjoys it. So this may look right, but it isn't. It never is. Remember that whole married couple thing? Well, and is a very faithful spouse. All of these coordinating conjunctions are very faithful to comma, and they will only have comma. If you try and stick them with a semicolon, they will reject it and say, no, that is not my spouse. That is not the one I make join sentences together with. So this is incorrect. Semicolons are supposed to go between two plain sentences, no coordinating conjunction involved. So this is correct. This is one way to fix it, is just by taking that coordinating conjunction out and having your noun and verb, semicolon, pronoun or noun and verb. And that is just fine. Oops. Another way to fix that is just by changing that semicolon to a comma, right? If we really, really, really want that and in there, just change it to a comma, and then you've got your happy couple back together. Okay, so there are the most common mistakes and how to fix them. If you understand these patterns well of how to attach two sentences, these mistakes shouldn't come up very often because you'll have that solid understanding. If you have any more questions or want more practice, let me know. You can comment, you can send me a message, and I would be glad to talk more about run-ons and how to identify them. So thanks for joining me in this video, and we'll see you next time.